You never expect a letter to ruin your life, especially one that arrives without a name, a stamp, or a reason. But when 5 friends in Oregon receive the same black envelope with the words, "The Invitation," carved into the cover, they all feel something cold coil inside their chests. No sender, no explanation, just a date, and a set of coordinates pointing deep into a forest known for disappearances. That night, each of them hears faint knocking on their windows, but when they check, no one is there. Whispered voices drift through their rooms saying, "Accept it." Their phones glitch, lights flicker, and shadows linger too long behind them. One friend tries to burn the envelope, but the flame refuses to touch the paper. Another throws it away, but it reappears on his pillow. The old neighbor across the street sees them holding the envelopes and warns them to stay home on that date, because no one who follows an invitation like that ever comes back. Fear grows, but curiosity grows faster. Against their instincts, they pack their bags and drive toward the forest. As fog thickens around them, a tall figure stands between the trees, watching. Something feels wrong the moment their car stops, as if the forest itself is holding its breath. At the coordinates, they find a massive, abandoned mansion glowing faintly with candlelight, even though no one seems to be inside. The front door swings open by itself, inviting them in. Inside, the air is old and heavy, filled with dust and a strange sweetness that makes their heads feel light. Portraits line the walls, but every single face is violently scratched out. A long dining table stretches across the room, perfectly set for 6 guests. But only 5 of them are here. They call out, but the house answers only with creaking floors and shifting shadows. Candles light on their own, doors slam shut behind them, and the temperature drops enough for their breath to fog. They try to leave, but every exit leads to another hallway, another staircase, another impossible path back into the mansion. Time doesn't feel normal. Minutes stretch like hours, and clocks spin backward. A soft voice whispers welcome home, even though none of them have ever been here. As they split up to find a way out, each feels eyes following them, waiting. The moment the 6th chair pulls itself out from the table, they all freeze. No one touched it, no breeze, no explanation, just the scraping of old wood against the floor as the invisible guest takes their seat. One friend jokes nervously, mocking the setup, but the laughter dies instantly when something grabs him by the ankle and drags him screaming into the shadows. Panic explodes. They chase after him, only to find an empty hallway filled with claw marks. Desperate to find answers, they discover a locked room filled with old bones arranged in ritual patterns, symbols carved into the walls, and a tall mirror covered with a black cloth. When they remove the cloth, they see their missing friend in the reflection, eyes wide, mouth trembling, begging for help. But he's not alone. A dark, twisted figure stands behind him in the mirror, even though nothing is behind them in the room. The mirror cracks on its own, and thick, dark blood begins to seep from the fractures. They scream for their friend, but the reflection fades, leaving only darkness. The house whispers, "He is not the last." You cannot survive a house that feeds on you, but that's what they realize when they find an old journal hidden beneath floorboards. The journal explains the curse. Every generation, 6 people must be invited, 5 must enter willingly, and 1 must be taken to keep the house alive. The ritual repeats endlessly. The mansion is not just haunted, it is hungry. As they raid further, the house begins to twist around them. Hallways shift direction, rooms flip upside down, and whispers crawl across the walls like insects. Memories distort. They see visions of themselves dying in different ways, each death worse than the last. They try to fight back, trying to burn the house down, but the fire curves upward like a living creature and forms a human shape that whispers, "You accepted the invitation." Windows show scenes of past victims begging for release. The house imitates voices of loved ones, trying to lure them into deadly traps. A staircase collapses behind them, forcing them deeper into the mansion's heart. They understand the truth. They can't escape unless they break the ritual. But breaking it means facing whatever lives beneath the house, and it knows they're coming. Fear becomes poison as the mansion forces them to turn on one another. Every corner echoes with their missing friend's distorted voice. Sometimes it cries for help, sometimes it laughs. When he finally appears in the hallway, his spine bent, skin pale, and eyes hollow, they almost scream. He whispers for them to run before the master, chooses another. But before they can help him, he's yanked back into the darkness. They push deeper into the mansion, discovering a hidden underground chamber where dozens of old invitations lie scattered among piles of bones. 6 chairs encircle a stone table, each holding a skeleton dressed in tattered clothing. One skeleton slowly turns its head and opens its mouth, releasing a breath that smells like death as it whispers, "Only one leaves. Choose." Their stomachs drop as they realize the truth. Every group was forced to choose one to sacrifice, or else the house took them all. The mansion wants the same from them. It won't let them leave until one friend dies. Tension rises, accusations are thrown, and trust shatters. The house is working on them, pushing them toward the choice it craves. Nothing destroys friendships faster than fear, and the mansion knows it. A voice from the walls speaks clearly now, offering them a choice. Sacrifice one friend willingly, or all of them will stay forever. The mansion manipulates their minds, making each friend see twisted hallucinations of the others turning violent. Shadows imitate their movements, whispering lies. Footsteps follow them even when they stand still. One of them disappears behind a locked door, screaming for help. Another is convinced the others are plotting against him. Every hallway becomes a maze of nightmares designed to break them. They argue, cry, and beg for another option. But there is none. Slowly, the idea of sacrificing one becomes the only possibility. The house amplifies guilt, fear, and desperation until someone finally volunteers, believing it will save the rest. But as the group prepares for the impossible, they realize the house never said the sacrifice must be willing. They hear a final scream from the missing friend. The house has made its own choice. Everything collapses around them as the mansion reveals its true nature. Walls pulse like a living creature, floors crack open into endless darkness, and rooms melt into black liquid that crawls toward them. The chosen sacrifice runs, but the house closes in, forming grotesque faces in the walls that whisper, "Stay." They stumble into the deepest chamber, where the original invitation lies inside a glass box. Every victim before them had touched this same paper, sealing their fate. If they destroy it, they might break the curse, but the house won't let them. The shadows rise into monstrous shapes, trying to drag them away. One friend is pulled into a wall, screaming until the sound cuts off. Another is nearly swallowed by the floor. Only 2 remain standing as they fight through the choking darkness. One smashes the glass and grabs the invitation, but the paper burns their hands, screaming like a trapped soul. The mansion roars, shaking violently, cracking apart as if its heart is splitting. They know this is their only chance, but if they fail, they'll become part of the house forever. The house is dying, but it refuses to die alone. As the walls crumble and flames erupt from the floors, The last two survivors run toward the ritual chamber, holding the invitation that started everything. Smoke fills their lungs, and screams echo through the halls, some human, some not. The mansion offers them a final bargain in a voice that sounds like every friend they've ever lost. Burn the invitation and escape, but doom the souls trapped inside, or sign the invitation themselves and take the curse, living to host the next victims. Both choices are nightmares. The house shakes violently, debris falling like rain as the floor splits open beneath them. They decide survival is their only option. With shaking hands, they ignite the invitation. The paper burns with a blood, red flame, and the mansion releases a deafening scream as its structure collapses. They run through the front door just as the house implodes into ash. Breathing heavily, covered in soot, they think they've won. But that night, when they return home, a new black envelope waits on each of their beds. The curse didn't end. It simply chose new hosts.